If you have questions, concerns, and are just lost when it comes to planning for retirement, meet Steve Hoyle and Derrick Caldwell of the Hoyle Financial Group. As you are nearing retirement, you might look at your nice 401k balance and say, all right, well, it looks really good, but now what? Well, the next step is critical. Here's financial author Jean Chatzky on Morningstar.
We did a great job at just banging the drum about the fact that people needed to max out, to pay themselves first, to contribute to their retirement account. What we did not do, what we're just starting to do, is to help people understand that they now have to reverse engineer the entire thing. They've got to take the money that they've accumulated and they've got to figure out how to turn it into a stream of income that's going to last as long as they do.
And I know you guys get that question a lot. Usually it goes, am I going to be okay? Am I going to run out of money? And is my money going to last as long as I need it to? So, Derrick, how do you help clients turn those retirement accounts, much like a 401k, into a reliable monthly paycheck, literally getting paid to be retired?
Very important, because that's sometimes people's biggest worry is, okay, so now what? I put this money in the 401k like I was told and everything, and what happens next? A lot of people don't even know they could take money from it. They're just like, can I? And it's like, well, you're retired. Yeah, let's get rolling for this. But having an income plan is very, very important before you retire. Knowing where your money comes from, how it's taxed, like we mentioned previously on the show, but also having either guaranteed income sources or knowing how much you can withdraw off of your assets and have a reasonable expectation of your funds lasting and everything, right? That's what people are looking for. And when it comes down to having reliable monthly paychecks, if you're lucky enough to have a pension, hey, fantastic, guys. But most of the time, it is Social Security. That's our reliable, hey, I know I'm going to get that every month. And the rest of your money comes from your investments. So how are your investments taxed? How much are you actually going to get off of that a month? And where does it come from? How much your expenses are each month, right? How much income do you need in retirement? That is a question, I ask that all the time in our first meeting when we sit down. And 90% of the time, people don't know. It's you're empty nesters, and you have enough income right now to live the way you want to live, but you never really thought about, A, how much money do I have to have? Then also, how much money do I want to have? And then, can my retirement assets produce that? There's things like annuities. Your fixed index annuities have guaranteed income sources. We can take your money, that in retirement, and we can turn it into what I kind of call like your own little pension. You can guarantee that for you and your wife or you and your spouse's whole entire life. And that is something that is a big part of portfolios these days. And those days of, hey, you could take out 4% and hope and pray, it doesn't need to be that way. There's a lot of even dividend portfolios and things that we have that can create good income for you. And you need to be aware of that. And you need to plan for that and have your dedicated income sources ready to go when you retire. And generally, we require everybody 30 to 90 days before retirement date. Let's come in. Let's do what we need to do paperwork-wise and everything. Let's get your income stream flowing before that. Because I'll tell you, people that have retired and then came and see me, what happens is it's that, hey, this is the first or second month and I've gotten no money in my accounts. It is scary. That is the biggest thing retirees talk about is, hey, I don't have any money coming in and I'm just living off my savings account, which is depleting. So no, let's get those income sources set up. But a lot of things like your annuities, they get stronger with time. So if you're in that red zone, 3 to 5 years away from retirement, you can have withdrawal rates up to 10, 12% on annuities. They guarantee that kind of income off of the asset that you put into them. So it is a very strong way of getting more income than what you can do off traditional means, such as the market itself. So that's a big part of what you can do, as well as just set up different buckets of money for different situations. Whether you need cars later on down the road, we need a plan for 529 plans for grandkids, all these different things. Is we got to really look at how much money that you're really going to have in retirement. And then you could tell me, hey, Derrick, that's fantastic. Hey, I don't need any more. Get it rolling. Or you could say, hey, Derrick, that's not enough for me to live the way I want to live. And then, hey, this is what we're going to do, Mr. Johnson. We're going to make these changes to get you where you want to live. In retirement, it's all about living that retirement dream. Nobody wants to sit on the couch and eat beanie weenies and just be, hey, passing time. We want to travel. We want to do all those things. But having the income that you need in retirement and having the assets in place to provide that is going to be key in retirement. So call us, guys. This is what we do day in, day out. And it's something that you're never taught. Our education system is sorely lacking when it comes to finances. No one tells us anything but to put your money in your 401k. And you hit the nail on the head, just that when you retire, it's like, okay.
There's a comedian and filmmaker by the name of Ryan Beck, and he draws from experiences that he has with his parents who are retired now. Take a listen.
If you don't have retired parents, basically what that means is that now I call them up on the phone and they've been answering the phone as a team. I don't know why that started, but they're just like, the phone's ringing? Well, we better both hop on this. Who knows who's calling? Just hello, you're on speaker. Why? Why am I on speaker? Every time I call them, I'm on speaker. I'm like, Dad, why am I on speaker? He's like, anything you can say to me, you can say in front of your mother. Is she your attorney? Why is counsel present? What's happening?
Oh, man, that's amazing. I'm sure there's lots of good, funny stories that our listeners have for that as well. It just kind of begs the question of, as far as couples, as they get closer to retirement and, they start doing everything as a team, all of a sudden you realize you are with your husband or wife every minute of every day. It also can bring up some interesting conversations, maybe about, retirement finances. You guys talk about this all the time. You sit down with couples and they've been married 50 years, but they didn't know that the other one wanted to do a motorcycle ride across the country and the other one didn't want to leave the house. And all of a sudden you're playing therapist in the middle of a little debate there.
Yeah, and honestly, guys, that happens a lot. It is really interesting. A couple of years back, I had a client's wife, and she just called me out of the blue and said, hey, Derrick, how's it going? And, everything's going great. And she said, hey, can you do me a favor? And she said, can you take my husband to coffee? I just need him out of the house. I can't do it. I need some time alone.
All right.
And yeah, it was like, well, okay. So, and give you some perspective here. They were about 3 months into retirement. There was some conflict. We're used to spending 8 to 10 hours a day with our work family. No matter what, it's a break from your spouse and things like that, for better or worse. But it comes with, when you go into retirement, the psychological aspect of being together 24/7. It definitely can be stressful sometimes, but there's a lot of give and take. And we see a lot of that where one spouse wants to travel. And that's their whole entire dream, is to see every state in the United States or go to Italy. And the other one wants to work on cars. But it's important to think about those dreams beforehand, too. And know where your spouse is coming from, because you may have been married to them for 40 years, but don't even know they really, really like to travel because maybe you haven't had the time to do that. Right? And that's something we see all the time, and it's very real. It's something that I tell everybody all the time when our first meeting, or what are your hobbies? What do you want to do in retirement? And even from an individual perspective, we've never been asked that, and 9 times out of 10, people just look at me and they're like, well, I don't really know. I haven't thought about that. And I'm like, Charlene, you're retiring in 10 days. We just go through life, right? We raise kids. We do the best we can in all avenues, whether it's work or family. And we put our head down and we work hard and we take care of everything. And then we hope at the end of the day we retire, but we haven't even thought about something as simple as, what do you want to do? This is our goal for 50, 60 years of our life. And I ask people, what do you want to do? And it's like, I don't know. I just don't want to work,
That's a fair answer to begin with, I guess.
Yeah, it's fair, but it's something, hey, I urge everybody. That's the fun part about doing this, too. Have some fun with your wife or husband. Sit down, talk about, hey, we retire next year. Let's plan a trip. I urge everybody, hey, a retirement trip. When you retire, go somewhere or go see somebody or go do something. And that's a great goal, a great way to get started.
Now, the word annuity, it often gets a bad rap in the financial world. And it's because critics tend to group all types of annuities under one umbrella. But if you've been with us for a while and you've been listening to the show, you know that is not true. So, Derrick, here's where you come in here. For somebody who's new to the show, tell us exactly what an annuity is. And, of course, the benefits, and with everything, there's always the good and the bad. What are some drawbacks?
So annuities are sold by insurance companies. That's the first thing to kind of know. And an annuity is where you transfer funds. So say your IRA or non-qualified, which is after-tax money, then you transfer $100,000 to the insurance company. So you're transferring a large amount of the risk to the insurance company. The insurance company, they take on that risk, and they house your annuity where there's a lot of different types of annuities, but they can give you a fixed rate, similar to kind of a CD style where say, hey, we're going to pay you for 3 years, 4% on that. There's also lifetime income annuities where you can get a lifetime income stream. You can annuitize an annuity, which means you're giving the funds over to an insurance company and they're giving you a payment based upon the contract you sign with them. Or there's just regular type of what they call fixed index annuities that protect you from loss. But most people use annuities to transfer the market risk off of themselves and transfer that to the insurance company, or a large portion of that risk. That's really how they're used a lot of times. But some of the pros are that you can get guaranteed income off of them, and generally speaking, much higher income than you can take from market assets or bank assets. So that's a huge pro is, generally 5 to 7%, sometimes even up to 8, 9% of whatever investment you put with them, they'll guarantee for you and your spouse's entire life. So great, right? Everybody's like, hey, okay, you add some layer of protection there. You guarantee my income. Fantastic. Sign me up. But annuities are not scary, not at all. But you have to make sure that you're in the right annuity and it's meeting your needs. They're tax-deferred earnings, too, which people love, especially the last couple of years, because CDs are not tax-deferred. So people have ran to the bank, they've thrown money in a 4 or 5% CD, and now they're actually getting money on their money, but now the tax man, right here, is where they get upset on CDs because they're getting this 1099 saying, hey, I made $8,000 last year. Yeah, and so annuities are tax-deferred. Until you withdraw those funds out and everything, you can sit on them and they're all tax deferred. So another great pro, they're also customizable. There's so many different types out there, guys, that y'all can talk with us about, whether it's guaranteed income, fixed rates, whatever. You want to make sure that your annuity matches your goal. And one of the biggest cons to annuity, I will say, is that it doesn't match what the client wanted, or they don't understand what it's doing for them. I would say that's one of the biggest cons, or just knowledge, because the safety that annuities provide a lot of times is one of the biggest drawbacks we get, where we'll sit down with somebody and we'll say, hey, this is a fixed index annuity. It's going to protect you from loss. We're going to transfer that risk to the insurance company, and we're going to grow your money, based upon these factors, and maybe provide lifetime income. They're like, okay, well, I'm going to put all my money into it.
Yikes.
Yeah.
That's never good. Don't put all your eggs in one basket. I know that.
Yeah, never. It's just like any type of financial instrument out there. It needs to be a piece of your portfolio, and you need to know exactly what it's doing for you. Because that's really the number one pitfall when it comes to annuities, is that people try to put too much money into them, because one of the cons is it limits your liquidity. Because of that safety that, they offer, with fixed index annuities and fixed annuities and things like that, right? There's no perfect financial instrument, guys. There's nothing. There's risk on annuities. There's risk in the market. There's risk in CDs. There's risk everywhere out there, but you have to make sure it matches what you want. And one of them is liquidity. Most companies offer 10% a year that you can take out of that annuity for income or just emergencies. But so if you tie up all your money in an annuity and you get a penalty if you take out more than 10%, you can't do that. You're limiting your liquidity too much, and the market provides higher risk, but also a possibility for higher return than what an annuity does. So there's cons, guys. And so I could talk about this all day, Jess, I'll tell you, but it really boils down to the client's needs and making sure they match what the advisor's talking about and what the client is, and really building that relationship. That goes into our first meeting about goals and everything that we just discussed, because what we do with annuities is totally dependent on the person.
Everything is customized.
Yeah, I can see 10 different clients, and maybe 4 of them get annuities, maybe all of them get annuities, and certain percentage, all that. Everything that we do here at Whole Financial is 100% customizable to the client's needs, their lifestyle, and their legacy. So that's something that I urge you, if you don't know about annuities or you have an older annuity, because guys, there's some bad annuities out there and there's some blazing hot, great ones too.
Yeah.
So if you're in one of those older annuities, give us a call. Let us sit down, explain to you what it is, how it works. Can you do better? Is it doing fantastic? Hey, the worst thing you can come, we're going to call this annuity challenge, right, Jess?
That's right. My favorite.
Bring annuities, or if you like what you hear too, you want to talk about annuity, give us a call. We're going to do an annuity challenge. You bring it in. The worst thing you can walk away with from calling me on this is that you got an annuity and it's doing fantastic. And I tell you that, and you're living it up at that point.
If you'd like to sit down with Steve and Derrick or a member of the Hoyle Financial Group, visit retiretexasstyle.com.
Investment advice offered through Hoyle Wealth Management, a Texas-registered investment advisor able to provide investment advice in states where it's registered, exempt, or excluded from registration. Content contained herein should not be construed as an offer or solicitation for investment advice or for the purchase or sale of any security, insurance, or other investment product. Investments involve the risk of loss, including possible loss of principal. Please consult with a qualified financial, tax, accounting, or legal professional before implementing any ideas or strategies discussed here. Content provided is obtained from sources believed to be reliable but cannot be guaranteed as to its accuracy or completeness. By contacting us, you may be provided with information about insurance products, including annuities offered through Steve Hoyle, Texas Insurance License 716036. Annuity guarantees rely on the financial strength and claims paying ability of the issuing insurance company. Read your contract for restrictions, limitations, or penalties. Steve Hoyle is not licensed in all 50 states. To find out if Steve Hoyle is licensed in your state, please call 806-371-9473.